Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Anu Joshi and I'm a real estate broker based in Toronto and the GTA. If you're in Canada or you're a Canadian citizen, you know that election 44 is around the corner. And it is my belief that when the elections are here, we do have a civic duty to vote. Whatever your vote is, whoever you're supporting, we do have a duty to vote. But beyond that, I think also, what's important is that you have to take the time to understand the various policy platforms and really understand what it is that the parties are proposing. A lot of the messaging and all of that gets lost in the media. The media usually concentrates on the really big ticket items, perhaps not the ones that are most important to you. Now, myself being a realtor, what I can do for you, and I'm going to do for you today, is distill the platforms for the three national parties, and we're going to go through the proposals that they have surrounding housing and housing affordability, and I'm going to distill those for you. So it is going to be a fairly long video. We are starting today with the Liberal campaign, with the Liberal housing policy platform, and the Liberals have 16 different but related measures that they are proposing in terms of housing. So we're going to go through all 16. I'm going to put the the chapter markers in the description box below so you can listen to what's most important to you, but I'm going to try to go through all of them in as much detail as possible. So let's get started. The first one is to help renters become owners. So what the Liberal government is trying to do is start a rent-to-own program that's going to be available to buyers so that they can basically rent, but it's a rent-to-own. So basically they're paying a given rent amount, and part of that rent is actually going to go towards their down payment. So essentially what the landlord is going to do is, hypothetically, let's say it's a $2,000 per month rental, but the actual rent cost that the landlord is charging is only $1,500 per month. So out of the $2,000, $1,500 is a rent payment, and $500 per month is actually going toward that individual's down payment account, sort of. It's like a forced down payment saving that the landlord is helping you to do. So you're basically generating a surplus of $500 per month in your savings for your down payment. So that's $6,000 in 1 year, and your landlord is just hanging on to that for you. Now, the program is going to basically reflect three principles. One, the landlord must commit to charging a renter a lower than market rent to help Canadians build up savings for a down payment. So in the example that I gave, if the market rent in that neighborhood is $2,000 per month, the landlord basically in this example is committing to charging only $1,500 per month, even though they're collecting the $2,000, right? But their rent payment is really only $1,500. The additional $500 is going to go into the renter's down payment collection account. The second principle is that the landlord must commit to ownership in a 5-year term or less. So what this means is that the landlord is saying that under this rent-to-own program, okay, you as the tenant, we're going to have a lease in place where the total payment payable is $2,000, right? The actual rent is only $1,500, meaning I'm collecting, as a landlord, I'm collecting $500 per month from you and putting that into your down payment account. So essentially at the end of year 1, you have $6,000 saved up for a down payment. At the end of year 2, you now have $12,000 saved up. At the end of year 3, and so on and so forth. So what's going to happen is, well, they haven't announced the exact details yet, but basically how rent-to-own programs work is that the landlord and tenant, they commit to a timeline and they also commit to a price. So the landlord and tenant would talk and say, okay, we're in 2021 right now. We're going to do a 4-year lease, and at the end of 4 years, you're going to purchase this exact house or this exact condo from the landlord for X price. Now, rent-to-own programs are not very popular in the GTA and in other like crazy markets, because market appreciation overall is quite strong, and the landlord wants to kind of, be in the market. And if they want to sell in 4 years, they want to sell at the market rate at that time. What ends up happening for first-time buyers, though, is if you can't afford one now, it's going to be that much harder for you to afford one in 4 years, right? It's a moving target. What this program would probably allow you to do, and they still have to announce the details, but what it would probably allow the renter to do is to agree on a price that, okay, at the end of year 4, so in 2025, we're going to purchase this for X amount of money. And the down payment that they've saved up by paying the additional $500 per month to their landlord going into their down payment savings account, that additional money is going to formulate their down payment. Their purchase price is already decided, and the timeline is also already decided. So they do the transactions 4 years down. So it's basically like a forced saving. The biggest benefit of this program is that you're getting an under market value rent, like the $1,500 rent, where the market value is actually $2,000. The third principle is that proper safeguards will be in place to protect the future homeowner. There's no details provided about this. I don't know what this means, but essentially rent-to-own programs have to protect and be good enough for both parties. In the GTA in general, rent-to-own programs are not particularly lucrative for the landlord. So it's going to be interesting to see how the government is going to encourage landlords to participate in this program. Are they going to offer incentives? Are they going to, give a tax break to the landlord or anything like that? I don't know. But if it was just, any mom and pop that has a single unit, they're probably going to want to kind of play the market because they'll do better that way, right? Why would they take a discounted rent rate when on the free market they can get $2,000 a month in rent? Why would they rent to someone for $1,500? So it doesn't say anything about that, but let's see how the plan goes. The second proposal is for buyers to be able to afford a down payment faster. So this one's kind of interesting. The Liberal government is proposing that they'll introduce a tax-free first home savings account. So basically it combines the features of an RRSP and a TFSA, and it's going to allow all Canadians under 40 that are first-time buyers to save up to $40,000 towards their first home. And then they can save the $40,000 in that tax-free first home savings account. And then when they withdraw it, it's also going to be tax-free. So basically, like an RRSP, right? When you put money into an RRSP, you deduct it from your income, you don't pay tax on it. So it's tax-free going in. In a TFSA, it's technically after-tax money, but you put it in, and then anything that you gain from that, like investments or interest gained on that or anything like that, that additional income is not taxed. So that's the tax-free portion. So what this program is proposing is that they're going to combine these two sort of accounts and create a third account, this first home savings account, and it's going to have both benefits. So you put money in, you deduct it from your income, so you're not paying tax on that, which is great. It's tax-free on the way in. And then like a TFSA, whenever you want to take it out and put it in your first purchase or anything that you earn on that, there's no tax on that either. So it's tax-free on the way in and it's tax-free on the way out. So this is interesting. The biggest benefit here, again, I like this sort of proposal is because it unevenly helps first-time buyers. A lot of first-time buyers in Ontario, the GTA, the Greater Vancouver area are having a hard time purchasing, right? And a big reason for that is because majority of our policies, whether it's from the mortgage standpoint or anything like that, majority of the policies that we currently have affect everybody, like they apply to everybody. But what it does, it actually affects first-time homebuyers unevenly, right? So having this sort of policy that is especially targeted towards first-time homebuyers and allow them to save more tax-free money. In Canada, we pay a lot of taxes. We know that. We're happy about it because we do get a ton of services in return, education, healthcare, all that jazz. The tax rates are quite high. So to have tax-free money going in, so deducted from your income, and tax-free on the way out, like when you pull it out to put a down payment, I think is going to be a benefit for a lot of first-time buyers. They can save hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in not paying these income taxes and being able to use larger chunks of money to put towards their down payment. So that is quite an interesting program for first-time buyers. The third one is they're calling it the most flexible first-time buyer incentive. Okay, so the first-time home buyer incentive was otherwise known as the CMHC shared equity mortgage, in which CMHC, the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, would lend up to 10%, so 5% for a resale home, 10% for a brand new home. CMHC would give you the money as a first-time buyer to put into a house. So let's say you're a first-time home buyer. This is the old program I'm talking about. Let's say you're a first-time buyer, you have put 5% down payment, and you're buying a resale condo. CMHC will also put down 5%. So your total down payment for that property is going to be 10%. So you're getting your mortgage with 10% down payment and 90% loan to value. So that is basically how the CMHC program worked, right? And then when you sell the property, you can, you basically, because they put in 5% when you were buying it, when you sell it, you pay CMHC back 5% of whatever that future sale price is. So it was a first-time homebuyer incentive, yes, but also I think the more accurate term is a shared equity mortgage. Basically, CMHC was sharing a piece of the down payment, and then in return, they were getting a piece of the pie, which is the appreciation that they would have gotten. The program also said that if the property value goes down and you quote unquote lose money on it, then CMHC will also lose money on it. But basically they were coming in as investors, they were giving you 5%, you were giving 5%, and basically both the CMHC would take 5% of whatever profits that you made after when you sold it. So this one is interesting. They are making a flexible first-time homebuyer incentive. And the big change that they're making is that the buyers that take up this first-time homebuyer incentive or the CMHC shared equity mortgage actually have an option not to share the equity. So in the current program, you could only do the shared equity option. The other option is that it would basically be a loan that's repayable only at the time of sale. This is great. This is great because it puts more money back into the pockets of Canadians and back into the pockets of buyers. So if you're doing it now and you're taking 5% from CMHC, basically you don't have to pay any money back. There's no monthly installment. They just have their name kind of untitled. They're just kind of in the background there. Again, there's no monthly payments. There's no interest or anything like that. You just pay them back the money when you sell the house. So this seems a little too good to be true. Why would CMHC give a buyer, $25,000, which is 5% of $500K? Why would they just give you a check for $25,000 and not want anything? So in this case, I'm a little bit iffy because it doesn't really explain what the benefit is for the government or what the benefit is for CMHC, right? Because in the previous program, they were getting a piece of the pie. They were going to get a piece of the appreciation that property went up in value. CMHC would get a piece of that. So there is a reason for them to give you 5%. This program, if they're saying that basically they have to pay back the money as a loan, is too good to be true. Okay, so there is one line in here about that borrowers don't have to pay a monthly installment, but would instead have these payments deferred at a market interest rate until the time of sale. So let's recap. What this actually means is that basically during the time that you have the CMHC loan, okay, when you have the CMHC loan, it's no longer a shared equity mortgage. So you don't have to pay them a percentage of your profits, but it's basically going to go on as a mortgage, okay, on title. And what's going to happen is your payments, your monthly mortgage payments, not to your financial institution, but to CMHC, those monthly installments, you don't have to pay them, but they are going to accumulate. Okay, and it's at the market interest rate. So right now interest rates are super low, but they will go up. We don't know if they're going to offer fixed and variable or only fixed or only variable or whatever. But basically what's going to happen is the payment that you owe on borrowing that $25K, because essentially it's the mortgage, right? They're lending you money to purchase a house. So that's a mortgage. The payments are going to add up and they're going to be on title, and it's just going to continuously add up. Right? So if you sell your house in 5 years, now what happens is you're not paying back 5% of the equity appreciation. So if it went up 100K in value, you don't have to pay back 5% of that to CMHC. You keep the entire 100,000, right? That it went up. You keep all of that money. But what happens is in the 5 years, your monthly payments, let's say it was $1,000 a month, right? That's $12,000 a year. In 5 years, that's $60,000. So now you have to pay back $60,000. That number is just out of nowhere. I just used 1,000 per month for easy calculations, but basically it's deferred payments. So you are going to owe them money. It is going to be like a mortgage payment, except you don't pay it monthly. It just keeps continuously adding up until the time you sell, and you pay it all off in one chunk. So that's an interesting option. I don't know if they're going to change completely over to that option, or they're also going to offer the equity option. It really depends on what market you're in, what part of Canada you're in, because again, this is a national program, right? There are some areas where if you give them, 5% of equity appreciation, you're golden, because you're making 95% of that appreciation, right? It's not a big deal. In other parts of Canada, it might make more sense to just accumulate it as a deferred mortgage payment and then just pay it off in one chunk. So that will be interesting to see how that comes into effect, but it is definitely a flexible program. I think that will help first-time buyers. Next, they are proposing to save on your closing costs of buying a home, and they're saying they're going to double the first-time home buyers tax credit from $5,000 to $10,000. What this means is that currently you can deduct $5,000 from your income if you buy a new house, and then get the relevant tax credit. Now they're going to double it and make it $10,000. It translated into actual dollars, it puts about $1,500 back into your pocket. So I'm a fan of money. I like money. I like saving money. I like getting rebates. I like all that jazz. In terms of closing costs, land transfer tax alone is in the tens of thousands of dollars, right? Whether you're a first-time home buyer, if you are a first-time home buyer in Toronto, you get a $4,000 rebate. In Ontario, you also get a $4,000 rebate. But beyond that, just based on where prices are right now, you're paying tens of thousands of dollars, right? Like I have a client right now that's going to be paying $30,000 just in land transfer taxes. So $1,500 on that doesn't really make a big dent, but whatever. It's cool. I'll take it. I'll take $1,500, no problem. Next, we have reduce your monthly mortgage costs when you need it most. So this one is really interesting. Okay. Oh, this is not the interesting one. Okay, this one's okay. So as you know, if you do a down payment of 20% or less, less than 20%, then you are going to be charged with the mortgage insurance. So there's 3 mortgage insurers: CMHC, Genworth, and Genworth and Canada Guarantee. Okay, these are the 3 insurers in Canada. So any down payments less than 20% down, you do have to get mortgage insurance. The amount of the mortgage insurance gets added onto your mortgage amount. So if it's like $13,000, it does get up there depending on your down payment. Let's say it's like 10 grand, right? The 10 grand, you don't have to pay it out of pocket. What happens is it gets added onto your mortgage, and that's basically used to calculate your monthly payment. So you're not paying it out of pocket. It's not that big of a deal, but it does increase your total mortgage amount. So what the Liberals are proposing is that they're going to decrease the amount of mortgage insurance. Right now, the insurance premiums on a new mortgage can be up to 4% of the purchase price. So they're looking to reduce this by 25%. I don't like the way these numbers are presented. They're not like they are reducing it by 25%. Basically, it's going to go from 4% of the price to an average of 3% of the price. So really, it's a 1% reduction, but they're calling it a 25% reduction. But just so you know, again, any money that we can save, home buying is expensive. After you've actually bought the place, you've paid for the inspection and the appraisal, and the moving and the lawyer and the closing costs and the land transfer tax. You still have to buy furniture, and you still have to buy groceries, and you still have to buy a million things. So just like the $1,500 back from the tax credit, even if this is saving you, $1,000 or $2,000, great, let's take it. Anything that first-time buyers can get right now to help them with homes, let's do it. The second part of this is also the insured mortgage cutoff. So like I said, if you're paying anything less than 20%, you have to do the insured mortgages, right? Okay, there's another principle. Basically, if you're purchasing in Canada for $1 million or more, you have to put in a 20% down payment or more. You cannot do a 10, 15, or even 19.99% down payment if your property price is $1 million or more. So what the Liberal government is proposing is that they're going to move the threshold from 1 million to 1.25 million. Basically what this means is that if you're buying anything, let's say 1.2 mil, right? Because that's not that expensive anymore in the GTA. You can't really get things for 1.2 million, right? The average price of a house, I think, crossed 1.45 in the whole of GTA, right? Not just Toronto, the whole of GTA. It's like above 1.45 or something. Anyways, so 1.2, raising that, the insured mortgage cutoff to 1.2 basically means if you're buying a $1.119 million house, you can put less than 20% down on that. You don't have to put down the 20% down. It's going to help a ton of buyers. This is not just for first-time buyers. It's going to be for repeat buyers as well that are moving up, let's say from a condo that's in the $500,000 to $600,000 range to a property that's just above $1 million, but they don't have the full 20% down. It is going to help them for sure. So the raising the threshold to 1.25 million, I think would be a good idea. The only people that would have a problem with it is probably the mortgage insurers, because they lose revenue. But it is what it is. We need to do what we can to help people buy homes. Okay, so the next one is give cities the tools to speed up housing construction. So this is also quite interesting. A lot of the problems, and I've said this before, and I'm going to continuously say it again and again, a lot of the problems that we have with housing are due to supply side issues, right? The demand is so much. We have immigration, we have like upwards of 300,000 people coming into the country. Not including COVID, but before that and probably right after that as well. We have so many people coming into the country, so many of them are qualified. So many have great jobs, so many have great incomes, so many have great credits. These are all like viable buyers. They're all very, very viable buyers. And so the market is filled with them, right? A lot of it is internal demand. Like I know that there's some foreign buyers and stuff, and we're going to address that in one of the other policies, but a lot of it is local demand. Very qualified people, young people, old people, middle-aged people, local people, okay? Local Canadians, people on PR and Canadian citizens that are here, that are working here, that are contributing to the economy here, that want to put down roots here, that want to buy a home. A lot of them are very, very qualified to do so. So the demand is there. What's not there is the supply, okay? Now, supply, keep in mind, is a provincial and municipal issue. So at the regional level, regions control where infrastructure goes. Regions control where infrastructure goes, where schools are built, right? Where the roads are going to be expanded, this and that. Municipalities control what is going to be in a community. They're the ones that give the approvals for, okay, you can build homes here, you can build townhouses here, you can build a condo here. They're the ones that give these approvals. So a lot of the federal policies, all the federal, the government can really do is kind of like push the provinces and municipalities and regions to encourage growth and development. But a lot of the sort of red taping that comes into it, a lot of the bureaucracy that comes into it is at the municipal level. So what the Liberal government is proposing is that they are going to start the Housing Accelerator Fund is something that the Liberal government is proposing, and it's aimed to grow the annual housing supply in the country's largest cities. They haven't specified which ones, but I'm guessing Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, Calgary, nowadays even Ottawa. So basically the Housing Accelerator Fund, what it's going to do is it's going to create a target of 100,000 new middle-class homes by 2024 and 2025. I don't know what middle-class homes means. Like I understand like the middle class, but I don't know what middle class homes means. I don't know. Anyways, so this Housing Accelerator Fund, what it's going to do is going to give money to municipalities that are under like service, like they don't have enough resources to accept development applications, to make zoning decisions and do that fast enough, like build infrastructure and all of that. So basically the cities and the regions, what they can do is apply to this Housing Accelerator Fund and say, hey, we need this much money because we're planning to put in a new community with 30,000 homes, but we don't have the money or resources to build a school and build a grocery store and build a road. So give us money. we also don't have enough zoning staff to, accept zoning applications and development applications. We don't have enough staff, so give us more money. So basically what the Housing Accelerator Fund is going to do is pay these municipalities so they can do these things and get things moving quicker. The target is 100,000 new middle-class homes, whatever that means, by 2024 or 2025. So I think it's quite interesting. We definitely need to address supply side issues, which, a lot of organizations have been talking about. The issue is definitely supply side. We need more supply, and whatever we can do, whether it's money or resources or encouragement or whatever, right? Whatever's required to build more homes, we need to do it, right? Supply is the only thing that's going to sustainably offset skyrocketing prices. It's basic economics, right? Supply and demand. We have tons of demand. Somebody bring supply, somebody build supply. Okay. Speaking of building things, their next policy is to build and repair more affordable housing. So what the Liberal government is proposing is that they're permanently going to increase the funding to the National Housing Co-Investment Fund by a total of $2.7 billion over 4 years. This is more than double what's currently available, and it's going to help affordable housing providers acquire lands and building to build more units. So basically, affordable housing is also something that needs to be addressed. We can have all the supply in the world. It's going to take a lot more than what municipalities and builders can build to actually bring the prices down, right? So prices are probably not going to come down, but we do need to service the side of the market that absolutely cannot buy at market prices, right? We do need some sort of affordable housing options, whether it's for affordable housing purchase or affordable housing rent. Both of these do need to be addressed, and it is the burden is on the government, right? The free market is doing what the free market is doing, right? And that's surging prices, builders charging whatever the hell they want, the resale market being the resale market being wherever it is. That's the free market, right? And there's certainly a place for that in Canada, and a lot of homeowners and everything, and investors have done well, and that's fine. But for the government, right? For the government, they do have to take care of their citizens and their people that cannot afford to be there. There has to be some sort of solution. So affordable housing is definitely an important component of our society as a whole. In housing, we can't ignore affordable housing, absolutely. So if they're saying that they're going to give $2.7 billion over 4 years to help organizations get land, get buildings to make affordable housing units, fantastic. We need the money. How this is going to be governed, like who defines what affordable housing means, who allocates, that you get affordable housing, but you don't, and you do, and you don't. Like, who does that? It doesn't say anything about that. That's something that definitely needs to be sorted out, but making that housing is a first step.